Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The race between Democratic candidates Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton is growing increasingly contentious ahead of the New York primary April 19th. During a rally in Pennsylvania Wednesday, Bernie Sanders responded to Hillary Clinton's claims he's not qualified to be president by saying she's the one who's not qualified.
Well, let me just say in response to Secretary Clinton, I don't believe that she is qualified. If she is through her super PAC taking tens of millions of dollars in special interest funds. I don't think that you are qualified if you get $15 million from Wall Street through your super PAC.
Also speaking in Pennsylvania Wednesday, Hillary Clinton fired back at Sanders, saying his ideas are flawed because his numbers don't add up.
But Senator Sanders and I have some real differences about how we would go about achieving our goals as president. And like a lot of people, I am concerned that some of his ideas just won't work because the numbers don't add up.
Meanwhile, Republican presidential candidates Ted Cruz and Donald Trump both faced opposition from New Yorkers Wednesday. Senator Cruz had planned to visit Bronx Lighthouse College Preparatory Academy, but his trip was canceled after the students threatened a walkout. In a letter written to the school principal, students wrote, quote, Ted Cruz's views are against ours and are actively working to harm us, our community, and the people we love. He's misogynistic, homophobic, and racist, they wrote. Instead of visiting the school, Cruz met with voters in the Bronx, where he faced heckling by residents who yelled at Cruz, quote, this is an immigrant community. Meanwhile, more than 200 protesters gathered at Donald Trump's rally in Bethpage, Long Island, carrying signs reading, dump Trump and stand against racism. 16-year-old protester Yusra Ahmed spoke out.
Basically, I came here out as a Muslim because I know he plans to ban all Muslims, which doesn't really make sense to me because he associates all of us as that one small group of extremists that actually go against our religion. Our religion is meant to spread peace, and it even means peacemakers. So it doesn't really make sense when he says all of us are trying to cause trouble.
Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grothman has sparked controversy with his comments about Wisconsin's controversial new voter ID laws, which prevented thousands of registered voters from casting ballots in this week's primary. Speaking to NBC on Tuesday, Congressman Grothman admitted he believed the state's voter ID laws would give the Republican presidential candidate an advantage during the general election this fall.
Take me forward to November. You know that a lot of Republicans since 1984 in the presidential races have not been able to win in Wisconsin. Why would it be any different for Ted Cruz or a Donald Trump?
Well, I think Hillary Clinton is about the weakest candidate the Democrats have ever put up. And now we have photo ID, and I think photo ID is going to make a little bit of a difference as well.
Iceland has named a new prime minister amidst continued fallout from the revelations of the Panama Papers. Iceland's former prime minister, Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson, resigned on Tuesday after the leaked documents from the Panama-based law firm Mossack Fonseca revealed he owned an offshore company with his wife, which he failed to declare when he entered the Icelandic parliament. On Wednesday, Iceland's coalition government announced Agriculture Minister Sigurdur Ingi Johannsson would take over as prime minister and that a general election would be held in the fall. Johansson spoke out after the announcement.
It's a big burden in this situation. It's not the most happy situation when I'm taking the prime minister seat, but I will try to do my best. And I am hoping that the people of Iceland will see that the new government will increase the stability both in politics and in the governance.
How would you describe the last 3 days?
They have been dramatic.
In more developments on Panama Papers, new articles by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists have revealed three of the most powerful people within the Chinese government, including President Xi Jinping, have relatives with offshore companies set up through the law firm Mossack Fonseca. This comes as British Prime Minister David Cameron and his family are facing increasing questioning over the revelations David's father, Ian Cameron, sought detailed advice on the best tax havens to use, even after his son became the leader of the Conservative Party. The Tennessee House has passed legislation allowing mental health counselors to refuse service to LGBT patients on religious grounds, making Tennessee the latest state to pass anti-LGBT measures this year. This comes as the governors of New York, Washington, Vermont, and Minnesota have all banned state officials from making non-essential trips to Mississippi as part of the growing backlash against Mississippi's sweeping new anti-LGBT law. New York has also banned all non-essential travel to North Carolina in response to its passage of its anti-LGBT law known as the Bathroom Bill. In West Virginia, former coal company CEO Don Blankenship has been sentenced to a year in prison for conspiring to violate federal mine safety laws in the years leading up to the 2010 explosion at a Massey Energy coal mine that killed 29 workers. It was the worst coal disaster in the United States in 40 years. The year-long sentence is the maximum allowed for the conspiracy charge. Last year, Blankenship was acquitted of the more serious charges of lying to regulators and investors. Meanwhile, in Illinois, 3 Volkswagen dealerships have sued the auto giant, accusing Volkswagen of defrauding retailers by installing devices in its vehicles to skirt U.S. emissions regulations. U.S. regulators say Volkswagen vehicles were emitting up to 40 times more pollution than U.S. standards allow. Volkswagen has admitted to rigging some 11 million vehicles worldwide. A Bangladeshi blogger and law student has been killed in the latest in a series of murders of secular activists and bloggers in Bangladesh. Police say 28-year-old Nazimuddin Samad was attacked by 4 men wielding machetes Wednesday night. Fellow university students protested his killing. Student Bilal Hossain spoke out.
We are protesting here because one of our law students at the university was brutally killed. We want a proper investigation and we want justice for the killing.
In Puerto Rico, Governor Alejandro Garcia Padilla has signed an emergency bill authorizing the suspension of payments on $72 billion in public debt. The move sets up a dramatic showdown between Puerto Rico and hedge funds amidst the island's historic debt crisis. To see our recent coverage of Puerto Rico's debt crisis with Democracy Now! Co-host Juan Gonzalez, go to democracynow.org. In California, agents from the Justice Department raided the home of anti-choice activist David Daleiden, seizing computers and hundreds of hours of video footage. Daleiden's under criminal investigation in Texas for secretly filming and releasing heavily edited videos that falsely accuse Planned Parenthood of profiting off donations of fetal tissue. Students at The Ohio State University occupied the campus building Bricker Hall Wednesday to demand the university divest from the corporations Caterpillar, Hewlett-Packard, and G4S over the company's business in the Israeli-occupied Palestinian territories. The students also demanded more transparency in the university's finances. And Human Rights Watch is reiterating its call for the United States to stop selling weapons to Saudi Arabia after Human Rights Watch says it found evidence the Saudi-led coalition used U.S.-supplied bombs in the deadly airstrikes on a crowded market in Yemen last month. The strikes killed at least 97 civilians, including 25 children. Human Rights Watch says it found remnants of both U.S.-supplied bombs and U.S.-supplied satellite guidance kit at the scene. Medical clinic worker Othman Saleh spoke out about the aftermath of the attack.
We received 44 wounded in total, including women, children, and elders. Of those 44, 2 people died. 3 others were in critical condition. They had to be taken to the ICU.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Good.